Welcome to the Strong, Single and Human podcast, a real look at single parenting, the ups and downs, and how to navigate life with kids on your own while keeping sane. Covering subjects such as domestic violence through to fussy eaters and solo dating. I'm your host, Claire Martin. Welcome. My guest this week for many years suffered with crippling anxiety, feelings of anger, frustration, and an unprecedented fear of the future. She lacked boundaries, self-worth, deep connection to herself, others, and found her relationships were always surface deep. Her breaking point came when she found day-to-day activities completely unachievable. For the past 4 years, she's been working to develop her skills to become a relationship coach and is here to talk to us about bringing our awareness within so you can express yourself wholeheartedly and create a relationship that you love. Her mission is to help people who struggle with relationships to build strong and meaningful connections so that they can experience a healthy, loving relationship. Hi, Felicity. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Claire. It's lovely to be here.
No. It's cool. So, hey, look, there's a lot happened. There's a lot happened in the last 4 years for you. So, look, tell me a little bit about, what's happened to you and how you've got to the point of being a love coach.
Yes. Oh, wow. It has definitely been a journey over the last 4 or 5 years. And thank you so much for that introduction. It really talks to what I have been through and the mental struggles that I went through, especially in my 20s and early 30s. And I found myself in really toxic relationships, relationship after relationship, where I was like, it seems like the same guy is turning up each and every time. And then all of those toxic habits come out, and I find that they're not the type of people who were committing to the love that I truly desired, or they were men who were telling me all of the right things, but then their actions were not actually following through with what they were telling me. And I went through a really dark period in my life where I found that I was really lacking a lot of self-love and self-worth, but I didn't realize that that's what it was at the time. For me, the catalyst of understanding that something was fundamentally not right was these toxic relationships. And I got really firm with myself one day and just said, what is going on here? And found that the common denominator in all of this is myself. So and look, I completely agree with you, because I think we do get to that realization, don't we, when we are in these toxic relationships, or when a relationship has ended or whatever, and it's that point of looking internally. And you are right, the common denominator of all of these is us. It's us. And that's where when I first became aware of that, it was frightening, because it meant that, I had to fundamentally change myself, because that is the common denominator. And if I want to have the life and love that I truly desire, then I needed to go in and do some inner work around that. So did you find that it was more that you were fearful of letting go of what you were holding on to, or what you were getting from those toxic situations? I don't think I knew what I wanted. I think that was the problem, was that, I just was looking for that external validation in places that was giving me the validation that I was craving in the initial stages of the relationship. But then obviously as time went on, I was choosing not to see the red flags, not to notice the patterns and behaviors that I was eliciting, but also that was being mirrored back to me from those relationships. So I think it was more that I didn't know what I want, and the reason why I didn't know what I wanted is because I didn't care enough about myself to know what it was that I wanted.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, no, exactly. It's that self-love, isn't it? As such.
Yeah. So I went through a really dark stage, ended up on anti-anxiety medication. At the same time, my career was absolutely taking off, my corporate career. So
wow.
It's a bit of a juxtaposition between
yin and yang, isn't it?
in my personal life, there's so much destruction and so much self-hate. But in my career, it was telling a completely different story. But of course, the self-love, self-worth piece, or the not good enough piece, was spilling over into my career. So I kept having these thoughts that my career can't be taking off because I'm not good enough to be in this type of role, or I don't have the skills to be in this type of role. So for me, it was really an awareness piece about what is going on here? What do I need to change? And what support do I need to help me make that change so that I can experience the love and life that I truly desire? So what I did to overcome those not good enoughs was to create a supportive community around me, some people that were really going to help me to get from where I was to where I needed to be. And I had been in therapy previous to this, and it wasn't working out for me. I felt that my therapist was really focusing a lot on the past, and I was ready to move forward and to have my vision on who I wanted to be and the life that I wanted to create. So part of that was finding similar-minded people, and I moved to Bondi in Sydney and found the exact people that I needed in an amazing kinesiologist. I went to women's circles, got myself a naturopath, like really took care of my body, mind, and soul. And what I found with that was then I was connecting with like-minded people and finding a lot more joy in my daily living.
So were you still working though? Were you still doing the career that you were doing, but you were able to move to Bondi and like find those sort of people and go from there?
Yeah, I was really fortunate. My career was able to take me to Sydney. And it was through working with a life coach that I started to realise that actually the corporate world is not something that I want to be doing forever, or that I don't want as my primary focus.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I really want to get into life coaching. I want to do it. So I went away and did my life coaching course, and then everything's kind of blossomed from that moment. And I knew that with the work that I had done and with the lessons and experiences that I'd learnt, that I wanted to share that with other women who struggled when it came to dating and relationships. And that's what it really started out of was being a dating and relationship coach. But over time, it's evolved into a love coach and bringing more of that self-love and self-worth piece in. Because what I know is that when we have an abundance of self-love and self-worth, that's mirrored back to us in the relationships that we attract and connect with.
Yeah, because the title of love coach isn't about you coaching people to find a relationship, because I know when I've spoken to you previously, like I've gone, oh, love coach, okay, so this is about mending, relationships that are broken, so it's like a relationship coach or whatever. But you were saying to me, no, this is about, it's about love. It's about all love. So it's about self-love. And, that's what you're basically saying. Quintessentially, self-love first. And then once you've done all of the work on yourself, then you can go out and have those healthy, sane, stable, loving relationships that we're all craving. And we all go, well, why doesn't he understand me? Because potentially you don't understand yourself. You don't understand what you want. And you're giving mixed messages or whatever, and all of those things.
Yeah, exactly right. And that was something that I figured out fairly early on, that, the love that we crave, it has to start with ourselves. And we have to undo a lot of patterning and, pieces that we've been taught growing up. It's selfish to love yourself. You shouldn't look in the mirror and tell yourself that you love yourself. All of these different things that we get told, it's about undoing that and coming back to actually you are the most important person. And if you can provide yourself with the love that you crave, then you're not looking for it externally, which means that you're not looking for that validation from the wrong type of people.
And as a single mum, it's so hard to do the self-love thing, because you're sort of going, okay, I need to do this for the kids, I need to do that for the kids, and it's all about the kids, not necessarily about the relationship as such, but the relationship with the kids, and the kids come first and you come second, and that potentially isn't the most healthiest place to actually be. It's about having those on an equal par, and not so the kids don't come first, they sort of come as equal as you do as such.
That's exactly right. And, I've got practices that I teach to my clients that's 5 minutes. So if you can't find 5 minutes in your day to put aside, do you really have time to go out and find yourself a relationship?
Wow.
Or do you have time for your children? I mean, in all honesty, if you the best parenting that I've seen are the parents that put themselves first and that say, you know what, I love my child, and just because I'm doing what I need to do to be the best mother that I can be, it doesn't mean that I'm not being there for my child. It means that I'm actually filling up my own cup so that I'm not tired or exhausted when they get home from school, and I'm not snapping at them because they're not listening to me or whatever it may be. And I do find that once women, especially single parents, once they do cultivate that self-love and put themselves first, then they are able to be better parents.
Yeah.
It is super important.
So was there a turning point where you sort of went, well, I'm not really doing the relationship coach thing, or it's just really like morphed into more the love coach situation that you're...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there was a turning point as such, because I always knew that the foundation and the fundamental part of my business was going to be about love, was about that self-love piece. And then for me, it was like, I don't want to be marketing myself necessarily as a dating coach. I want people to know that if they're coming to me, it's around that self-love, self-worth piece.
Yeah. So how do we love ourselves then? Because like I sit there and I go, well, you know, like face pack, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of, and also at the moment, there's a lot of information out there that goes, oh, you know, especially if you're a single parent, oh, you need to love yourself first and all of this stuff. But I go, well, that's easily said than done, people. You know, it's like, what do I do? Because there's challenges and hurdles that, you know, yeah.
It's a really big question, and I think it comes back to, we need to unlearn a lot of the things that we've been taught. We need to know innately that it is safe and okay to love ourselves. When I first came across this work, I did Louise Hay. I don't know if you're familiar with Louise.
I know Louise Hay, yeah.
So Louise, for your listeners, is the founder, I guess, of mirror work. And what she teaches is for women, or anyone really, to look in the mirror and tell themselves that they love themselves, and to do this every day for 30 days and, you know, to journal about it and all this sort of stuff. The very first time that I tried to look in the mirror and tell myself that I loved myself, I burst into tears and couldn't finish the sentence.
Wow.
And it needs to be, I love you, Felicity. So it needs to be to yourself. And I wasn't able to do it. I looked at myself and I was like, I don't believe those words. It's not true. You know, how can I stand here and tell myself that I love myself when I know that it's not true? And in Louise's work, she says, and this is imperative for people to understand, is you don't have to believe what you're telling yourself at that point in time. The magic in it is doing it over and over and over again, and finding over time, actually, I can look at myself and finish the sentence without crying. Actually, I am starting to look at myself in the mirror without judgment. Actually, I am starting to tell myself that I love myself and really mean it.
Yeah.
And this is not something that can just happen overnight. And I teach it to my clients in that we're starting at second grade level, or even lower, maybe even prep level, expecting ourselves to be at collegiate level. But a college student doesn't just wake up one day from grade 2 and be in college. They have to go through all the steps and get all the support processes in place before they can get to that college level. So it's the same with self-love. It's not something that we can just catapult to overnight, especially if in our younger years we've been taught that it's selfish to love yourself, or you can't stand in front of a mirror and tell yourself that you love yourself, which I don't know about you, but I was definitely told that many, many times.
Well, I also find it interesting that you use, at the end of that statement, you use your name as well. So it's almost like, because you can say, I love you, right? But when you say, I love you, and you don't use a name, you can actually be saying, I love you, and thinking about your son, your partner, your parents, or whatever. So it's really centering. It's really centering when you use that name. And I'm not sure whether centering is the right word, because you use your name. So it is your name, and therefore there is no like ambiguity, or, you know, like I love you, like, because you could be practicing to say I love you to somebody else, right?
Exactly.
But when you use your name, it's really sort of putting it home that it's you, right?
Yeah. The word that I use with that is anchoring. So centering, anchoring, finding whatever that word is to say, yes, I'm anchoring within myself.
Yeah. And like when you were saying that to me, I sat here and I was thinking, could I actually do that? Because saying I love you to a mirror without defining my name at the end of it. I mean, I can do it. It's all good, but it's quite easy for me to have empathy for lots and lots of other people, but in a way, like empathy for me, and to go, hey, it's okay, do you know what? You've had a hard day. It's all right. Just chill out. Don't chastise yourself because you didn't do X, Y, and Z today. So yeah, just sort of really naming it, really anchoring it as such. Yeah.
Well, there's a challenge for you and your listeners.
I'm doing it.
Get up tomorrow morning, or if you're brave, do it this evening before you go to bed. And
30 days.
30 days.
Done.
So if the other thing that I teach my clients, because this can be quite confronting work, mirror work is something that, if you are struggling with that concept, or with the idea of looking in the mirror and saying, I love you, Felicity or Claire or whoever it may be, you can start with simple affirmations. So things like, I am worthy, or I am lovable. And this just takes out, they're still incredibly powerful and they're still really anchoring, but it just takes out a little bit of that potential triggering that can come from telling yourself that you love yourself. So you can start with affirmations a bit softer, a bit easier, and then when you're ready in time to go into the mirror work.
Wow, yeah. Okay, so then we've got 30 days of mirror work, which is great. I am going to do this. I will be speaking to you in 30 days and going, hey, guess what? I've done this mirror work. Wow, hello. Which will be interesting to see where it comes from. Maybe we should come back in 30 days and actually do my therapy session.
Let's do it together. I will do the 30-day challenge with you. Let's start November 1st.
Oh, okay. Yeah, which is Monday, which is all good. Happy days. Yeah, no, let's do that. Okay, so okay, so 30-day challenge is one of the things that we can do to start that motion forward to self-love. But then, like, where else do we go for this? Because that's okay, and that's all in the confines of our own house as such. So what else can we do, and how do we then start to emerge? And I say emerge probably because I've been in lockdown. You and I have both been in lockdown. We're both in Victoria. We've both been in lockdown for months. So how do we then emerge? How do we then say, okay, I've got all this self-love. I'm love myself up and all of this stuff. How do we then emerge into like Relationshipville, Alabama? And we actually say, well, I'm ready to move across into dating, which, like, I say it, like, even saying it, I go, oh, dating is just like too much hard work.
I think you need to come and do my 90-day
well, there we
love
go.
coaching
Probably. It's too much hassle. I can't be bothered. Face bothered. No thanks. It's So, which is okay. I probably just don't love myself enough.
But maybe relationship is not right for you right now, and Yeah. So there's two parts to that question. I think the first part around we've got all these amazing tools. How do we bring that into daily life? And the biggest thing that you can do, and this is based on my own experiences and what I see with my clients as well, is creating that supportive network around you. People who are going to keep you accountable, people who are non-judgmental, people who are potentially completely outside of your friendship group, who can give you that unbiased
and when you
support.
say people who are going to keep you accountable, delve into that a little bit more, because I'm actually I'm quite closed when it comes to things like love, blah, like, I don't know, maybe part of my upbringing, I'm English, so we tend to be stiff upper lip and all of that stuff. So, but I sort of go, emotions, etc., which is quite funny because we're talking about all this self-love stuff. But emotions and stuff I keep into me. I don't tend to. So how does our network then keep us accountable for all of this? What do we do?
Of course, and I mean, this is exactly why I do the work that I do, is to support women with that accountability piece. And just to give you an example of a coaching series, we create some really beautiful heart-aligned goals to get you from this feeling of, I don't want to date, I don't want a relationship, I don't want to do that. I don't have time for that. Where deep down you're like, actually, I really do want that. Like, I really do want to share this life with somebody else. So it's about getting truthful with yourself about what it is that you really want, and then seeking out the people that can help you with that. And in a relationship coaching series, or the love coaching series, over the 90-day period, we catch up every 2 weeks. You have access to me between the 2 weeks, and we keep in contact about what is going on for you. Are you staying accountable to the steps that I have given you to create that vision and accomplish the goals that we have created for this 90-day series?
And sorry, carry on.
There's other, depending on what your vision is and what your goal is. I mean, there's so many people out there that can help keep you accountable, from kinesiologists, chiropractors, depending on what it is that you want to achieve in your life. It doesn't have to be a coach.
And so what are some of these goals then? Because, like, is it that you say, right, I'm going to go and get a pedicure once a month or whatever? Is that a self-love goal, or are these a little bit more encroaching into who you are? It's not more like I'm going to give myself something, is it more an emotional goal as such?
Yeah, I mean, the goals that we have, they're measurable. So we need to make sure that we can actually keep track of them as we're going along. They're motivating, like they have to excite you enough and give you enough of passion ignited within you to say, yes, I really want to achieve this. And then there's, like, I would say to you, what does it feel like if you don't achieve this after the 90 days? And I know that you can tell by the glint in someone's eyes, like straight away, if this means something to them. So it's making sure that the goal also means something to you, that it's enough for you to really work towards. So for an example, it might be something like, I want to feel confident going on a first date, knowing that I am, an empowered woman, or whatever it may be. Or it might be, and then we would build steps towards that. So it would be about getting out there and meeting new people, whether it's male or female, it doesn't matter, like having conversations with new people and getting used to having conversations with people. So then when you are going on a first date, you actually feel quite confident in that. It's dating yourself so that you get familiar with the type of restaurants that you like, or the venues that you like. So when you're going on a first date, if you've suggested the venue, you already understand what is the menu, or who are the waiters, what is the place like, rather than sitting there. A lot of people get really anxious about first dates. So it's really about then putting steps in place so that when you do go on that first date, you've got that confidence built within you. And then we say, okay, cool. How did you feel on that first date? I actually felt the most confident I ever have. It was amazing.
See, confidence has never been lacking where I come from. So, but it's like, and I do understand. I completely understand where you're coming from. But I suppose in a way, like it's like maybe when I was younger, I would have probably been more anxious and like stressing about stuff. But nowadays I'm a bit like, well, this is what you're getting. So if you don't like this, then I'm sorry, go find somebody else, because this is it. This ain't changing. This has had like 50 odd years of like working through its life, and it is it's still a work in progress. But however, I'm still learning, but.
Yeah, and I think that's it's a really important piece that you hit on, is that in a coaching series, one of the first things I do is get my clients to fill out a pre-coaching questionnaire. And this is so that we can understand where are they at in their understanding of themselves and what they want. And so if I have a coaching client that's come through, 9 out of 10 times, they actually don't really know what they want. They don't know what their values are, and they may know what their interests and hobbies are, but they're not actually doing any interests and hobbies. So it's about getting them back out into doing the things that bring them a lot of joy and happiness into their life. And then obviously that then connects them with other people and opens up doorways in that ways. But it's also then about, okay, well, what do you value? And do you understand what it is that you value when it comes to a relationship with another person? Because if you don't understand that, you don't know that from the get-go, you're going to continuously have this cycle of repeated type people and partners and patterns and behaviours that will just continue until you actually get very clear on what it is that you do want.
And I suppose when you start to feel comfortable enough to go out there and look for a relationship, for a partner, a life partner, whatever, then you are you go to what is comfortable and what you know, if you haven't done some work on yourself as such.
Yes.
You go to what you actually what feels comfortable to you, what you recognize as, oh, I recognize this pattern, I recognize this person, I feel comfortable in that environment with that with this type of person or whatever, because this is the pattern I've always known.
Yes, this is familiar to me. You and I spoke a little bit about this off air recently, about how our family patterns tend to impact our relationships later on. And I do a lot of work with my clients around inner child stuff, and quite often we have inner child wounding that we're not even aware of. We think, oh, you had a great childhood, like there's nothing wrong with what happened there, but it might be something as simple as dad used to come home absolutely exhausted after a long day at work. He's thinking, oh my God, I had to go and do this long day at work, full of meetings, full of stress, to provide this beautiful house for my family to live in. I just want to go and enjoy my shower and go to bed when I get home. Whereas the child is thinking, oh, daddy didn't come in and read me a book tonight. He mustn't love me anymore. And even though that is not the correct scenario at all, these are the type of things that can stay with us. And so when we get to adult relationships, if we are attracting a partner who is not necessarily present, but in our mind we're thinking, I really want a man who's present. I really want a man who can be there for me and who's going to ask me how my day is, every time he comes home. We quite often attract what we're used to and what we're familiar with. So our partners will come through the door, have a shower and go to bed without asking us what's going on. And we sit there and we go, oh my gosh, he doesn't love me, but this feels familiar to me and normal to me, so it must be okay. So I'll just keep going on the way that we're going on.
Yeah. No, and I recognize so much of what you just said in like the past relationships that I've had, and going from there. That's wow. Okay.
So the inner child work is another tool that can be really effective when it comes to adult relationships.
Yeah, it was quite funny because I did an interview a few weeks ago that basically was it was funny, like, wow, and my listeners will go, wow, you've got some issues to deal with, lady, because basically the lady was talking about pleasure, and I said, yeah, but to me, pleasure, that to me sounds selfish if I'm searching out my pleasure, right? Now, it could be searching out my happiness, or we could call it another label, and I would feel more comfortable with that. It's just a label of calling it pleasure. I go, not sure. It felt like, even like when we were talking in the interview, I said to her, I said, it feels, it's just not it's not a word that I sit there and go, oh yeah, no, yeah. So, and obviously I've got to hang up on pleasure, whatever that may be.
You're not alone.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, and it's quite funny that you say this with relationships and stuff like that. And it's all of these sort of hang-ups that we have that we need to work through to enable us to get to where we are. And it's not just and I have to say, it is not just one-sided. It is that you've got to find the other person who has done their work as well.
Yes.
Because, and through working on yourself, you do. But it's...
Yeah. So the pleasure thing also comes back to what I was saying before, that we have to unlearn some of the things that we've been taught, or some of the beliefs that we have that are ingrained in us, in order to move past that. And then also part of that is that you don't get to a point where you think, oh my God, there is something fundamentally wrong if you're in a really great relationship, right? So my clients are people who are coming to me who are not happy with their love life. And so what we do...
But they're in a relationship, sorry, just to clarify, they're in a relationship, or they're just not happy, they're like single, not happy because every relationship they have is falling apart? Or...
Yeah, I've had both, but I am finding more and more it's single women who are coming into my realm.
Well, I think there's more and more single women out there. I'm not sure what is happening out in society, but it just seems as though women are going, no, I'm not putting up with that anymore.
Yeah, and exactly. And this comes back to the point that you were just talking about around, once we become aware of things, and once we start to make those small changes within ourselves, we stop attracting the people who are not going to allow us to experience that love that we truly desire. We start recognizing red flags earlier, and we do what I call block and bless a lot quicker, where it's like, you know what, this person is not giving me what I want. whether that's in an initial interaction online or whether it's 2 or 3 dates in, this person is not providing me with that feeling or with that chemistry or with that whatever communication or whatever it is that you may need. But because you're aware of what you want and what you need and what you value, you're able to pick up quite easily, and you're able to say thanks but no thanks.
Right. Okay. Wow. Because even sitting here listening to you say that, I'm going, okay, but how do you do that? Because like you can go on a first date and go, oh no, that guy was horrendous, not for me, or that lady. But I have to say, there are single dads out there as well. So you could say, oh my God, that lady's a crazy, or that guy's a crazy, or whatever. But then what happens if you get further down? So you haven't recognized red flags, and you get further down the line, and you're into this relationship 3-4 months, and you're starting to see things, but you're sort of also in that, you get buried into a relationship as such. And I don't know if that's a good description of what, because that's what I feel is you like get sucked in, buried into an ideal as such. And I think women do it more than men, although if I've got male listeners out there who want to give me feedback and say no, that we do it the same. But I see as though women idolize. They meet this guy, he's got a decent job, he's got 2 kids, he's a great dad to his 2 kids from what he's actually, said, and, stuff like that. You've seen, you've joined his Facebook or whatever. And, he's ticking a lot of boxes, right? Doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, if they're your boxes to tick. So he ticks like 90% of the boxes, but there's 10% that are like red flags, like just little things that you go, oh, you had a little glimpse behind the mirror and you go, oh, hang on a minute, that's a bit of a red flag, but you're sort of being sucked into that relationship. How do you either... Is it at that point that you go, okay, red flags, I'm out, I'm leaving here, or like, yeah, that's sort of where I go, don't really know what you would do. I mean, me personally, at the moment, I would go, nah, you did this, you did that, that's a red flag to me, I'm gone. But then maybe I've moved on over the last 4 or 5 years and gone, yep, no, they're what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, my brain needs to work. They're like non-negotiables that you go, no. Definitely not. So
that's what I was going to talk to. But there is actually a scientific term for this painting idealistic views.
Oh, is there? Because I think us women do it a lot.
Yes, it's called the Pygmalion effect, and it's basically where we have like these ideals of people where we say, he's the perfect man for me. He's got, and I'm very guilty of this, he's got a great job, a great income. He's he seems to be, liking his family, which, maybe that's enough. But when I look back on it, I'm like, he hated his job. He wasn't earning that great an income. He's moved over here from Ireland, so he clearly doesn't have a great relationship with his family. There was all of these things that I look back on and I go, oh my God, like I probably could have realized and recognized that within the first couple of conversations that we had.
But also, where do we get these ideals from, though? Because that interests me as well, because I go, well, why have I got this view that he needs to have a job, he needs to be, like personally as well, like I've got kids, so and there is no reason, like no rhyme and reason in my head, but I sort of go, to understand the issues that I have, this person needs to also have children themselves, which isn't necessarily right. Because
but it's not wrong either.
No, but it's like I've created a tick list in my mind, but I sort of go, well, where do I get this tick list from? Where does it come from? And I'm and I'm putting it, and I apologize because I'm interested in this. I'm going, well, where do I get this tick list from? Come on, like love coach me, like, but I like, and I don't know if you know, so if you don't, then please say, because
well, I mean, the question I would say to you is, how would you feel if you're sitting in front of a man and he's got this massive tick list about who you should be?
Oh, and I'm sure they have. Look, I'm sure they have, where they go, oh, she needs to not be crazy, not have a job, have a job, be independent, be like, I'm sure they do have a tick list.
Yeah.
Because we're human,
but I mean, part of that, we're human, right? And that's exactly right. We're human beings. And part of this is that we do have non-negotiables within us because we've got values and we've got things that are really important to us. So being a single mum, your family is important to you. Your son is the priority over somebody who you're dating at this point, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that will change as your son gets older. And so it comes back to the simple thing of really understanding what it is that you want, what are your values, and then having your negotiables and non-negotiables.
Yeah.
So a negotiable for me is, okay, they can have children or not, like that. It's not a non-negotiable for me. A non-negotiable for me, though, is that family is a top value of theirs. So I need to know that they have a good relationship with their family and that they're going to fit into the dynamics of my family, because that's important to me.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody else might be like, oh, family's not really a thing for me. I just want to travel the world with this person and want them to be, open-minded about whatever that means. And so one of the things that I teach my clients is to have some foundational questions that they can come to in the first little interaction. So whether that's online or in person. And some of the foundational questions can be something like, you mentioned that you've got a sister. Can you tell me about your relationship with her? And then that kind of opens up a little bit about what is their relationship with their family. Does he sit there and absolutely bag the shit out of his sister, or is he genuinely having a great relationship with her? So, having some foundational questions about that. And I guess you could think about, what does that mean for you? What are your non-negotiables? And then how can you build some foundational questions to help weed out the people early on who are not aligned with what it is that you want.
And I suppose with everything that we're talking about, just sitting here thinking about it, it's a good way, because let's face it, in this day and age, a lot of people, the way they find partners or whatever is online. And also, like, we've been in lockdown for forever, so a lot of people have been like online, so that online dating is the only way that they can actually maintain a search, for want of a better word, a search for the, a partner, life partner, soulmate, whatever you want to search for. So I suppose these fundamental questions are good at actually recognizing up front, there and then, within those first couple of weeks of chatting, whether these people are actually for you as such, and whether you want to pursue on and go down an avenue of actually meeting, blah, 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 dating, whatever, and go from there.
Exactly right. And with dating apps these days, they've got a lot more information on them compared to what we saw, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So you can have your foundational questions in mind the minute that you go on and start swiping. So is this somebody, have they got children? Are they saying that they don't want children? Whatever it may be, whatever that foundation is for you, or whatever those top values are for you, you can see pretty early on in people's profiles. Now, I'm not suggesting that you write, hello, how are you? Do you want kids in the future? Like, this is not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about, you connect with a profile online who you find attractive, you start talking to them, you open up with some really great, curious questions. And then later on, it might be something like, do you have children? Or, I notice in your profile that it says something about you having children. I have a son. What's your son's name? Or what's your son's age? Or whatever it might be. So you can start dropping clues and questions, and they actually will give you quite a lot of information back. You can get a lot of information from people pretty quickly in those initial stages of chatting.
Do you think, and sorry, I'm well putting you on the spot for these in this last like 10, 15 minutes, but like, I sit there and like, I have a certain opinion and view on dating apps. I actually don't like the Plenty of Fish, the Tinders, the the apps that sit on a phone and a swipe right, swipe left, blah blah blah, pictures from Facebook from 10 years ago or whatever, right? I don't like them. I think they and this is where I go all political here. Well, I think they attract a lot of people who are dealing with relationship separations or whatever, who are just out there for a quick fix, because it is very much like shopping for shoes. Yeah, and I sit there and it's almost like people who have done work on themselves aren't on these apps, they're either going out doing stuff that makes them happy, meeting people that way through friends, hobbies, whatever, or they're actually on the more, what I would class as serious, dating out, like Match.com or whatever. So like, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, but like, I just say to people, it's not something that I do. If you want to do that, and like some people have been really successful. I mean, a mate of mine met his wife on Tinder, right? So admittedly it was 10 years ago, but like, and I think the apps have evolved over time as well. But like, I don't know, what are your thoughts? I mean, dating apps.
Look, it's a very good question. And this is from my experience and my personal views. Dating apps in the era that we live in, they have a place. We here in Melbourne, Sydney and other parts of the world have been in lockdown for a very long time. So we haven't been able to get out and connect and meet new people. So they have a place. And I think when you come back to truly understanding what it is that you want, it's really easy to recognise the matches or the profiles that you don't want to match with.
Yeah.
I actually have a really great guideline on creating your most attractive online profile. So if any of your listeners want to jump onto my website, flick me an email, felicity@felicitykasey.com, I can send them that tool for free.
Wow, okay.
Give them a little bit of a step-by-step guide on how to create that attractive profile, how much time you should be spending on these apps, because I do find a lot of people just flick through. Oh, I've got 5 minutes before my next meeting, I'll just jump on Tinder or jump on Bumble.
Yeah.
But really,
and they also, sorry to interrupt you. They also, I find, just look at the pictures. They don't actually, they just look at the pictures. So like you say, 5 minutes before the meeting, look at the picture, flick, and they don't actually read like what they've put in the actual text.
Yeah, so my advice with dating apps is create the energy behind it of the type of person that you want to match with. So if you're just there for a quick fix, that's the type of matching that you're going to get. But if you take your time through it, you're going to find there are actually some decent people who are on there genuinely because they don't have time to be out and about at this point, or we're all in lockdown, so we're not allowed to go out.
You're a single mum, single dad, you got kids, exactly.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, there is a place for them. Having said that, I am a huge advocate of getting really big understanding of what your interests and hobbies are as an adult and going and doing it. And especially if it's things like group sports. So I used to love netball. So if you love netball, go and join a netball team. If you love soccer, go and join a soccer team, or hockey, whatever it may be. Go and join a team and get to know people through that. The more joy, pleasure that you bring into your life, the more that is going to be reflected back to you from the people that you're around. So you're not necessarily going to join the team because, I want to meet the love of my life in my netball team. It's like, no, I want to bring more joy and happiness into my life. And I love playing netball, so I'm going to go do that once a week. And then you're going to start radiating confidence. You're going to start feeling really good about yourself. You're going to be moving your body more. So it brings that joyful nature automatically into your life, and then you start attracting that back. So yes, dating apps have a place, but I really think it's more important to get out and be doing the things that you're interested in and the things that you love and bringing more joy into your life that way.
Again, it's actually focusing on you. So I also find that if you are focusing externally, so you're focusing on finding somebody, right? So you're not focusing on you at the end of the day. You're focusing on, I must find somebody. I've got to find a man. I've got to find a woman. I've got to find somebody who's going to fill the gap that's in me.
That void.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it gives me, so it's almost like that person gives you a focus in your life.
Yes.
And to a certain extent, children fill that focus as well, which is exactly, it sort of brings us all the way back to the self-love in the fact that your kids are going to grow up and bugger off and go and, they're going to leave home, they're going to go to uni, they're going to do whatever they do because they're their own little people. And you need to focus on you as well, because when they go and do what they need to do, if you've not focused on you, then your life, there's going to be a gap. And that's not good for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you're right. It does. It comes back to that putting yourself first, filling up your own cup, so that then you've got that abundant self-love and self-worth that feels over. And the beautiful thing that I see in my clients is that when they start cultivating that self-love and self-worth, and it often happens about halfway through our coach. So I do a 90-day coaching series. So it often happens about that 6-week mark. They come to me and they say, oh my God, I had this amazing conversation with my boss and now my career is starting to take off. Or I had an amazing conversation with my mother who I'm never able to communicate effectively with. So they start to notice all different realms of their life having a positive impact. And then over time, because their cup is starting to overflow, and then over time that goes into the relationship and dating.
Yeah. Well, and I suppose if you're feeling more happy and content with yourself and not trying to focus on filling a void, then you're more you, as in your personality is more happy and like fulfilling as such, and it's contagious.
And you're unlikely to meet the love of your life sitting on the couch on a Saturday night on Bumble. Like, get out there, grab the girls, grab the boys, go and do something fun that, go bowling or whatever it may be. Go and do something fun that brings a lot of joy into your life. And that inevitably will be mirrored back to you in the type of people that you're connecting with.
So when you mentioned love of your life, okay, do you believe in things like soulmates? And because I sit there and go, like they go, oh, you have a soulmate in the world somewhere, right? And I go, yeah, but there's probably half a dozen, because it's do you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's exactly my point of view on soulmates, is that a soulmate doesn't necessarily have to be an intimate lover. It could be one of your best girlfriends. It could be your ex-boyfriend, or it could be a future partner. And you may come across multiple soulmates within your life. And the way that I like to think about it is, a soulmate is somebody who comes in to teach you a lesson, and they may be somebody who lasts for a reason, so a very short amount of time, a season. So maybe it's an ex-boyfriend who had to teach you a lesson about loving yourself, or about your values, or about what it is that you want. Or it might be a lifetime, where it's one of your best friends who you've journeyed with through high school and beyond. So soulmate to me, yes, they exist, but not in that form that we've been taught, that, your Prince Charming is going to come along and save the day and he'll kiss you and then your whole world will just completely change and then he'll be your soulmate and blah, blah, blah.
And that's exactly right. I do sit and I go, oh, blah, 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 because it's like, yeah. Because at the end of the day, and God love them, my mum and dad have been together 50 odd years, right? And, if I was to talk to them and go, well, how did you get, it's hard work. It's hard work to get through 50 years of being married to each other.
It is really hard work.
Ups and downs.
And yeah, my parents are the same, and their love has evolved over time to, Mum has often said, looking back, I don't know that it was head over heels love, but it was love that was obviously there and has stood the test of time. But what they've got now is, it's something completely different to what I think we see as love now. But, the world has evolved a lot as well, and relationships are really difficult. We're in a lot more pressure in our jobs. We've got a lot more going on outside of home, a lot more stress. We've got to get kids here, there and everywhere. Whereas, 20, 30 years ago, there wasn't that kind of stress.
Well, and I suppose we've got a lot more opportunities now as well. I mean, speaking from a female sort of perspective, and I'm grateful for every blimmin' day, in the fact that, in a way, there are things that I don't like about the era that we live in, but in a way, I'm loving the fact that, one, I'm a single mum who can work full time, who it has, thank God, for COVID to a certain extent, the opportunity over the last couple of years to be able to, one, work from home because of the internet and technology that we have, to then enable me to take my son to school. Because if I was a single mum working 20 years ago, I would be dropping them off at before school care or whatever, or I wouldn't be working. It would just be that simple. I wouldn't be working and I would be living off the state. So I have got the opportunities to do the things that I do. With opportunity does come challenges though, and I mean, it'd be interesting, and I'm getting a little bit off topic here, because it would be interesting what you would think regarding relationships. Is really around the relationships thing, because I do find and do feel that because women have evolved over the last 20, 30 years, we do have more opportunities, that I do wonder if we've left men behind to a certain extent, but we also haven't given them any direction either as to how we need to, how the relationship with us needs to evolve. So men are still trying to solve our problems and protect us and help us, and we're sort of sitting there going, no, we don't need you to do that anymore, and we're getting frustrated and annoyed with how everything's moving forward, and how the men aren't coming along with us and aren't giving us freedoms and aren't letting us do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, we find that we're in this sort of loggerheads a bit now, where a lot, like you say, you're having a lot more single women coming to you going, well, I'm not happy.
Yeah. I mean, communication is such an important aspect of relationship. From the minute that you start meeting someone or conversing with someone or matching with somebody, that effective communication, it's pivotal and it's imperative, which is why I keep coming back to it's so important in understanding what it is that you want, so that you can communicate that effectively to somebody when they're coming into your life, and vice versa, right? This is not just about us communicating. It's also about the men being able to say, hey, I can't read your freaking mind. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
Let me that masculine container that you need right now, and tell me what it is that you need from me, so that we can do this partnership together, so that it's not all one way or another way. And it's about meeting each other halfway. And that's why also your non-negotiables are so important in understanding what are my fundamental non-negotiables, and then what are my non-negotiables within a relationship. Because the relationship dynamic, you've got two people and then the relationship. So there's three dynamics going on here. It's not as if suddenly, this idea of, we come together as one, that's a load of crap. It's that you've got two very individual people, especially when we get to an older age, two individual people who have got, their own patterns and behaviors and beliefs coming together to create this third entity of this relationship. And so you have to keep those individual parts of yourself, but also come together knowing that, you are able to communicate effectively what it is that you need to make that partnership work.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. Communication. Like even with, and it's so apparent with children. Like, and my biggest fear is that we are in a era where we are not communicating, because we are sitting on our phones and our iPads, and we're sucked into Netflix and we're sucked into YouTube. And I know I sound like an old duffer now, but like it is, like, to me it's a big major concern, because it's also easy to bung our kids on an iPad or bung our kids on TV or whatever, and then you lose that communication. And then we wonder why our teens and our kids are acting up and doing whatever they're doing, and our relationships have gone to shit because, we're just not communicating and being.
Yeah. And it's really interesting seeing some of the studies that are coming out, probably in the last 5 to 10 years, is that predicting loneliness is going to be the biggest driver of death in the next.
Oh my God, really?
So, when we do spend so much time communicating via our telephones, we're actually not connecting with each other. So that connection piece is so important, and communication is part of that. And that's not just in our intimate relationships, that's across the board, our work colleagues or our parents or our siblings or our best friends, whoever it may be. It's about, really meeting people on that human level and connecting with each other, so that we're not having that feeling of disconnect and loneliness.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the studies say after these last 2 years as well, with us all sitting, and I mean, you and me are conversing on Zoom at the moment, but like about us all sitting in our own homes conversing with people on a screen, because talking, and I know because I did a long distance relationship from London to Perth for 18 months at one stage, and in the end went, this is great, but This isn't interacting with somebody. It's not physically being in their presence. It's not sharing their life. It's like being online, looking at a screen all the time, which is like, in a way, watching like a movie or a series, or, you know, talking to I could have been talking to a robot, because, you know, a computer generated robot. I mean, it'll be very bizarre to actually see what happens going forward, because with AI and all of those sort of aspects, you do wonder whether Felicity, you're sitting there, you know, it's answering all of these questions for me, but whether going forward in 20 years, right, you'll have just programmed in a whole load of answers to questions that I've sent you, and then I will be reading out my questions, and your Felicity bot, as it were, for want of a better word, would be sitting there, which is a picture, you know, of you, or a video of you answering these questions. Like, so it would be on screen, and it's like, it's scary what we've got going on out there, and like, it's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna help us, like.
Yeah, I agree. Forward. And I think, you know, I think AI and dating apps and all that kind of stuff, there's a place for it, absolutely. And, you know, maybe there will be some exciting times about that, but it comes back to, a dating app doesn't replace the need for that connection. And, you know, in my online, how to create your most attractive online profile, it's about get offline as quickly as possible, because that's where you're going to get to know this person. That's where you're going to understand, is there enough attraction, chemistry, connection to take this forward. I hear about women who talk for months without meeting somebody, and I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. Why are you doing that? Yeah. No, this is not healthy. So, you know, it's back to that communication and connection are really important.
And look, so we've got like randomly well off topic about everything that we were talking about, and I want to sort of bring this back a little bit to what you were discussing previously. So you were actually you mentioned, and you were commenting on journaling. So you were saying, and I don't call it journaling, but I basically write a couple of pages every day that go through like things that I'm grateful for. And I find that my day's a lot better when I do actually write down, like, and it tends to sometimes turn into a bit of an essay. And I know I'm supposed to say what I'm grateful for, or sometimes also say what I'm not grateful for. But anyway, but, you know, I just do this string. But you were saying about journaling for self-love, or is that what you were meaning?
Well, I mean, journaling is such a powerful tool because it can be whatever you want it to be. So it can be, I'm going to journal on what I'm grateful for example. Let's just take that as an example. So, you know, you might journal for the next 30 days about what it is that you're grateful for, and then you start to notice some really nice changes that are happening in your life because you're seeing the beauty of every day. When it comes to love, I mean, it can be whatever you want it to be when it comes to journaling. But one of the things that I get my clients to do is what's called a heart storm. So writing out the vision of what it is that you want when it comes to love, what it is that you want when it comes to a relationship. And then from there, really honing in on those bits that are about you. So, you know, I want to feel this certain way, or I want to be able to communicate effectively, or whatever it might be. And from there, then they can start pulling out affirmations or some of the other tools that we use when it comes to self-love. But the journaling piece, the thing I love about it is that it's yours to play with. It can be whatever it is that you want it to be. You can put pictures in there or words in there or however you want it to be. But the idea of it is creating some space and time for yourself in your day that's for you. And that's when you'll start to notice changes within your everyday life.
And you do it daily? You journal daily?
It's entirely up to you.
Okay, like you said, hey, I should be listening. Hello. Okay, so you do. Okay, so it could be weekly, daily. Do you think it should be regularly, or do you go back and review it? Is it like setting yourself love goals, self-love goals? Is it something like that? I mean, it's whatever you want to do.
It's entirely up to you. Whatever you want to do. On my website, I do offer some journaling prompts that can help when it comes to love and dating. And journaling is also a really great way to get out of your head a bit more into your body, like what's really coming up here. Let me just do a brain dump on how I'm feeling today or what's going on. And then after sort of 10 to 15 minutes, you might find, oh, wow, actually there's some really juicy, beautiful things coming through. And you might almost drop into that sort of meditative space of writing. And so then, and it may not take 10, 15 minutes, it might only take a couple of minutes, but then you can really start to understand, okay, what is it that I want in a relationship, or what is it that I don't want in a relationship? And then you can start pulling out some really good pieces from that and really understanding and going that little bit deeper.
Because I started my journaling, for want of a better word, because you can sometimes get into that mind cycle of I'm not, well, it's not about not being in a relationship, but it's like, oh, other people have X, other people do this, and it's all about being caught up in other people's, what they've got. And actually you then lose the fact that you've got like a lot, like at the end of the day, I have a healthy son, right? He may sometimes push my buttons and annoy the hell out of me, but like, I wouldn't be without him. Like my life without him would be like, just nondescript. And there's so many, he comes up with some choice things and stuff like that, but then I've got a house, nobody's pointing a gun at my head and shooting me, there's no bombs going off, there's COVID, but then there are advantages to COVID. So it's about looking at all of the positives of each different situation, and that's what I try and do, and say, okay, well, COVID is rubbish and it's not great and people are getting ill and people are dying and that's awful, and I could focus on all of the awfulness of it, or I could go, well, it means that I've had my son 24/7. I don't know why I'm even saying that. I am grateful that I've had my son 24/7. But like, there have been some weeks where I've gone, surely this is not what parenting is about. No parent should have their child 24/7. But anyway, just because we're two sides of the same coin. But it's about looking at the positives, really. I can't.
Well, I mean, and it doesn't have to be, I'm positive. Some days we're not positive, grateful for our children, right? Some days we're like,
no, God, no.
Right now, I'm a parent. So it might be something simple, like I'm grateful for my toothbrush because this morning, it helped me brush my teeth. Like it can be something really basic and really simple. And sometimes we have to start quite small to get to that bigger stuff, because there are days where it's like, I'm not grateful for this house because I have to clean it. And that's the mindset that we're in. And that's okay to be in that mindset. It might instead be, I'm grateful for the taste of my food today, or whatever it is. So again, it's bringing it back to quite a simple practice, the gratitude stuff. If you do want to take it a little bit deeper, you might go into the why are you grateful for that. So why are you grateful for your home? Why are you grateful for your food? Why are you grateful for your toothbrush? And it just takes the practice just that little bit deeper into gratitude. And then you start to realize, okay, I'm really grateful for that toothbrush because it helps keep my mouth clean, helps keep my teeth strong, but it also gives me minty breath. So,
well, and also the feeling, and the mintiness or the cleanness of your mouth means that you're happier because you don't feel so grubby and horrible. Yeah. I mean, there have been a lot of mornings I've been thankful for coffee personally.
There you go.
Especially if Oscar's not been, sleeping. So, and you go, oh, I'm so grateful that I've had coffee pods because of, X, Y, and Z.
Or it might be, I'm so grateful that I've got access to coffee pots because blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, you can, and it's the same with journaling. You can make gratitude and journaling mean whatever you want it to mean. And that's the beautiful thing of it. You don't have to show anybody in the world your journal.
No.
So it might be just a whole heap of brain dumps, or it might be answering some big questions, or it might be trying to understand the existence of planet Earth. Like it can be as big and bold as you want it to be, or as simple and beautiful.
And do you think, because of in the day of IT and technology, I actually use a pen and paper. I've got books that I actually physically write stuff, not tappy tap on a keyboard. Do you think that's Do you think that's a good thing? Does it matter? I don't know. It does to me. I like to I mean,
I think
there are some days you can't read my writing.
Yeah,
but
I think it's personal preference. But I mean, the only thing I would say is a lot of studies are coming out that, the blue light, whatever it is, from the computers really affects our sleep. So if you're doing it at nighttime, I think you should be doing, or first thing in the morning, I would be doing it handwritten if possible. But at the same time, if writing it out in your notes on your phone is going to make you do the practice, then use what's available to you.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. And there are a lot of online journals and stuff like that you can just sit there. And if you're on the train, you can do it on the train and things like that. No, that's fair enough.
And I would be tracking is being on the computer late at night or early in the morning impacting your sleep.
Yeah. No, that's, and I'm probably a real guilty culprit with that, like probably most people are. Yeah, most people are. So, okay, so look, because you've mentioned it a few times, where can people actually get connected with you, i.e. to if they want the free online dating, sort of booklet, for want of a word, or like information to how to generate an online dating profile that will get you the relationship that you want. Wow, I've just given it a title. Or to actually just connect with you regarding coaching or like anything else that you've actually you've got on the website. Where was it again?
So felicitykc.com.
Okay, brilliant.
My website, all the resources are on there. And if you want to email me directly, it's felicity@felicitykc.com.
Cool, brilliant. And like, are you on the Facey and the Insta and all of those blooming things as well?
Yes, Instagram handle is felicity_Casey. I'm not that active at the moment just because I've got a few things in the pipeline. But when that does come about, that's where
we're in lockdown. Why would we be active? There's nowhere we're going to show all these glammy pictures.
Exactly. And sign up to my newsletter. That's where you're going to get a lot of free.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
By my either email me directly and I can put you on the email list at felicity@felicitykc.com or over at my website.
Awesome. Okay, brilliant. So last question, I ask it to everyone. My listeners are probably like, oh my God, here we go, last question. But last question, if you had a superpower, what one, Felicity, would you have?
That is such a big question.
Oh, it is.
I have to go with invisibility.
Oh, see, I'm not sure I'd want invisibility.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm such a people watcher and so curious about it. I'm like, it would just be cool to just be a little bit invisible. But then, I don't know, at the same time,
I'd use it for evil, though, I would use it for evil.
Well, you can't use anything for evil because karma is our bitch.
Yeah, no, I know. No, but I would, no. That's why, and I go, it's invisibility. I wonder if I would find things out that maybe I don't want to find out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that's like anything, right? Actually, this is just a really weird thing to tell you and your listeners. Yesterday, I made my own dishwashing tablets because I'm just a little bit hesitant to be putting too much rubbish down the drain. So I was like, I want to do this. And I was like, maybe this could be my next superpower is sustainability.
No. Hats off to you.
Superpower, but
no, if you've seen any of the surveys around Australia regarding like the plastic and the things that we're putting into our water, and I just like hats off to you because I go, I don't actually think we understand. We think somebody else is going to do all this stuff, and I'm frustrated and annoyed with our government because I go, guys, this is it. You've got people like, I mean, God love them, but prominent people like David Attenborough who has been looking at the world and how it's evolved over his lifetime, and he's like 90 odd. So, he's seen it evolve over 70 odd years, right? And he's going, hey guys, 70 years ago it was this. Now we're here. We need to do something.
We can do something now.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. Once you do drop into that self-love, self-worth piece, you start to look at things a lot differently. So you start to be thinking about, what am I putting into my body? What am I putting on my skin? What am I putting into the water? What am I doing for Mother Earth? Like, all of these things start to come to mind because I've got this abundance of love that you want to give back.
No, and like you said, it is love for yourself. Because it is about, well, what am I putting into my body? Do I really want to drink a bottle of red wine every night or whatever? Because actually that isn't healthy, and that's not loving me.
Exactly. And then I go and do all of the patterns and behaviors the next day. I eat the crappy food because I feel like shit because I've consumed a whole bottle of wine. So that's exactly right. So you start your patterns and behaviors.
And are you then, by drinking the bottle of wine or having a few gins or whatever your poison is, are you then just masking what you need to actually sit in and deal with? And and just sit there? No, you don't need to maybe do anything. You just need to sit, feel it, and then move through whatever you need to sort out. I mean, I completely agree. It's it's a very crazy place that we live in, but I'm sort of I'm glad that there's all these things that people are doing, like yourself and other other people and places that are actually trying to make an awareness, and it will be interesting over the next 20 odd years to just see whether we get bored of it all and we go, oh God, there's somebody else talking about blooming self-love or this, that and the other, or whether we actually take it on board and we actually do some work on ourselves. Because as a not a nation is not the word I want to use, but as a tribe, a species maybe is the right word. As a species, we need to look at what we're doing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think, the words that come to mind are onus. It's up to us to make the change that we want to see.
Yeah.
We can't rely on huge governments to be doing this. It has to come down to an individual level as well.
Yeah.
We've got to start taking some responsibility in our own homes.
Yeah.
That is a podcast for another day.
Oh my God, I know. We could go diving down the political avenue, and I don't really want to, because I just want to leave that to the politicians.
No.
Well, I don't actually want to leave it to politicians, and I don't want to leave it to the people who are protesting. But anyway, we get diverse. Look, thank you so much for this afternoon. It's always a pleasure talking to you. It's always fascinating. We always go down these different avenues, and my little brain starts thinking, because you sort of poke me and go, oh, what about this? And I go, oh, okay. And I have to test you, and test you's the wrong word, but ask.
If you're thinking about it, I'm sure your audience is.
Well, I hope so. And look, if anyone has any questions that they want me to send through to Felicity, and Felicity's given her email address out, so if you want to post any questions to Felicity, please do. So look, I'm going to wrap it up there and say thank you. It's been a pleasure as always, and have a great afternoon, evening.
Thank you. You too.
Cool.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. If you'd like to support us further, share this episode with your friends and family on all the usual social media platforms that you're normally on. And finally, drop us a review on iTunes, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and ideas. It all helps me to understand and produce awesome content that I know you're going to want to hear, like this. If you want to check out past episodes, write to us, appear on the podcast, or for links, resources, and show notes, go to our website, www.strongsingleandhuman.com. We are also on all the usual social media platforms, Insta, Facey, and Twitter. Have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Be kind to yourself, and remember, no one's perfect, and we're all just putting one foot in front of the other and doing our best. I'm Claire Martin, and you've been listening to the Strong, Single and Human podcast.